Today, no landscapes have been left untouched. The large open regions of the past have now been split up into ever smaller areas. The influence of mankind can be seen everywhere. At the beginning of the last century, the desire arose among groups of Swiss natural scientists to establish a large reservation in which nature could be given a free rein to develop again. The talk was of a natural laboratory that would allow nature to run its course, undisturbed, but monitored scientifically. To finance this plan, the Swiss League for Nature Conservation, today known as Pro Natura, was set up. Every member contributed 1 franc to the national park. This has remained the rule to this day and corresponds to 100,000 francs every year. In 1913, a high-ranking parliamentary delegation visited the region planned for the park in the most easterly corner of Switzerland. They gave their enthusiastic support to the project, and just 1 year later, on August 1st, 1914, the Swiss National Park celebrated its official opening. The Swiss National Park is one of the oldest in Europe. It is situated at a relatively high level, between 1,400 and 3,200 meters above sea level, in the Engadine Dolomites region, a limestone massif with bizarre rock formations and massive scree slopes. The park is 169 square kilometers in area, and the land is rented from 4 communes: Zernetz, Schranf, Squol and Valcava. The Engadine and Münstertal were seriously overexploited in the past. In large-scale clearing operations, vast numbers of trees were felled and taken by raft to Hull in the Tyrol to be used in the salt works. When the park was founded, there was a fear in the region that the Alps would gradually become overgrown and that no pasture ground would be left. The character of the landscape would change and alpine plants would disappear. But these fears were unjustified. Deer and other game have taken over the former role of cattle, preserving the open meadows. Because the deer eat the young shoots, many trees never grow to their mature height. Their special shape shows that their shoots have been bitten off. In this region, the forests are typically made up of larch, Swiss stone pine, spruce and pine. The vegetation is sparse, the topsoil thin. Due to the clearing operations, clumps of mountain pine trees grow. They're all the same age, but their life cycle has now ended. This means that there are areas with large numbers of dead trees, especially here in the Orphanpass. They bear witness to nature's perpetual cycle. The rutting season. At the end of September, the deer can be heard night and day through Val Trubhun. In this gloriously colorful arena, the bulls fight out bitter duels over the female deer. The deer spend the summer between June and October in the park. The rest of the year is spent outside the reservation on the sunny slopes of the main valleys. To leave nature to its own devices, a total ban on hunting has also been imposed. But it's not that there's no shooting at all. An annual cull takes place outside the boundaries of the park to regulate the numbers of deer. Wild animals like these alpine ibex have no concerns about the borders of the national park or even the country itself. This means that research projects have to go beyond the borders as well. Around 10% of the alpine ibex have been given colored marks so that their migratory habits can be studied. Flowers on the Alp Bufalora. Those who come up here in the early summer will find the most beautiful alpine flowers wherever they go. Many have only heard talk of such plants. Here in the Swiss National Park, you can see them with your own eyes. Spring anemones and edelweiss, daphne, alpine roses, white mountain avon, and even the lady's slipper. Not only the obvious and clearly visible are of interest, a host of tiny inconspicuous creatures can also be seen. Visitors with an observant eye can make many exciting and pleasurable discoveries. More than 5,000 species of animal live here, and 97% of these are little creepy crawlies. Size is not an issue in nature, as no species is more significant than any other. Each is important for common coexistence. The enjoyment of nature and mass tourism are not mutually exclusive. Visitors to the national park, however, must make a few small concessions for the protection of the flora and fauna. They are considerably restricted in their freedom of movement. This means that everyone has the same opportunity to discover and experience nature. Talking shop by the side of the path. The national park rangers see themselves more as providers of information than as caretakers. Thanks to the understanding attitude of the 150,000 visitors every year, they seldom have to intervene to ensure that the rules are followed. If you're fortunate enough to catch sight of young marmots at play, then you're in for a great time. The much-loved rodents were once widely hunted, as their thick layer of subcutaneous fat was seen as a sure remedy for rheumatism. With the protection of the park, the numbers of marmots have risen sharply again. Thanks to the rule on keeping to the paths and the ban on dogs, they're much less shy here than in other places. Right now, the attention of these marmots is directed towards the most famous inhabitant of the park, the bearded vulture. In past centuries, it was notorious as a bird of prey, with lambs said to be its most favorite victims. The bird was hunted to extinction. Nowadays, the bearded vulture is one of the main attractions of the national park. This enormous bird, with a wingspan of up to 3 meters, in reality feeds only on carrion and bones. Since its reintroduction in 1991, the bearded vulture has extended its territory beyond the boundaries of the park, much to the delight of all nature lovers. It is hoped that the vulture will establish itself throughout the Alps. The Swiss National Park. A place of peace, a place to relax. An open-air laboratory for scientific research into the wonders of nature. Today, the national park is more important than ever. Here we can see things that otherwise would have been lost forever.